This story about preserving the history of Asiatic Garden restaurant began about 30 years ago when a young lady came into the restaurant asking about its age. Was the neon sign outside showing the age from 1931 accurate? She wanted to learn more about its history, but the Tangs were too busy to share it with her. But she returned many times with steadfast determination to help them preserve Asiatic Garden's history. When the Tangs retired from Cornell Dining in 2020, they were able to make more time for this determined lady, and they are forever thankful and admiring of Amy Somchanhmavong and her kindness in leading them step by step in the process of preserving their past. She introduced them to the History Center, where they worked with director Ben Sandberg, archivist Donna Eschenbrenner, curator Cindy Shalander-Cantu, historian Eve Snyder, and visitor experience manager Briar May Osant. These experts on local history have helped them make this project work, and they want to thank them for their support and their friendship. They offer their heartfelt thanks, deepest appreciation, and the assurance that they will treasure the fine memories of their work at the History Center. But their greatest thanks goes to their friend, Amy Somchanhmavong. To thank them for their tremendous contributions to the community, and especially for us to thank them for their generosity with us here at the History Center. They're sharing their lives, their stories, and their family memorabilia with us to help us create a Tang Family collection. And we are more grateful than we can say. I'd also like to say thank you so much to our moderator, Amy Somchanhmavong. Okay, I'm sorry if I don't get it right. Amy was instrumental in connecting us with Jean and King many years ago. She was also instrumental in connecting us with the larger Asian American and Pacific Islander community as well. So we're very grateful to her. So what I'm going to do with you this morning is I'm going to chat for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you an introduction, a brief introduction to the History Center, talk to you a little bit about what we have and what we do, with an emphasis on the archives, of course. I'm going to share with you an archival collection just to give you an idea of what we're doing with Jean and King. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, it's so dry in here. Then what I'm going to do, excuse me, I'm going to share some of Jean and King's history with you. Then I'm going to share some of their artifacts. I'm going to pull some things from this box, and we're going to pass them around to you on the tables. We have some things pulled out for you. They are safely encased in mylar, so they are safe for you to look at. Very gently turn them over a little bit at a time so you can look at photographs, look at documents, so that way you can look and listen to Jean and King at the same time. What I'd like to do is I'd like to start off by repeating something that one of our former directors used to say a lot. He used to say, the History Center is Tompkins County's attic. I always liked that metaphor because, of course, if you think about the kinds of things that a family preserves in their attic, things like grandpa's photo albums, grandma's quilts, mom's wedding dress, the crib the baby slept in, all of those things tell the story of that family's lives. It tells their history. So that preservation that they're doing is directly related to the kind of work that we do here at the History Center. Only, of course, here we're not doing it for one family, but we're doing it for many families throughout Tompkins County. Our collection is large enough so that in order to manage it most efficiently, we split it into two pieces. Our curator manages our three-dimensional object collection, things like furniture, clothing, household items. I manage all of our paper materials, our library books, our document and manuscript collections, our scrapbooks, our photographs, our historic maps. All of those things fall under my care, and most of them are stored in our archives, which is a long, narrow room right behind that wall, right there. Some of our things are stored in our research library, including our beautiful historic maps. So now what I'd like to do is just give you a quick glimpse at what an archival collection is. I imagine with this crowd, most of you already know, but you never know. So I would just like to share. It's this very basic thing here, small gray box, smaller version of the large boxes. that house these beautiful dresses that the Tang family donated to us. You open it up, simple, basic, excuse me, collection of folders, neatly organized, carefully labeled, a box list in the front, no big deal, right? Wrong. An archival collection is a world full of information. Don't be fooled by its unprepossessing exterior. Archival collections contain so much information. This one happens to contain information about the Tangs. We have hundreds of boxes back in the archives with information about other families, local businesses, local organizations, church records, school records, a crime collection, railroad collection, theater collections, anything and everything concerning Tompkins County's past are contained in a box like this. You're going to see some of the treasures from this when we start passing around some of the things that we've pulled and handle them very carefully. So now what I'd like to do before I get started passing those things to you, before I turn things over to Jean and King, I would just like you to keep one thing in mind. When you're listening to them, when you're looking at their artifacts, think about the context of their lives. Think about their history. In 1914, Wing Kui Tang came here to the United States from southern China. He was a young man, immigrated to the U.S. to the state of Washington. He worked for the U.S. Navy for several years as a chef. He stayed there for several years through the years of World War I. After the war, he made his way across the U.S. to northern New York. First to Syracuse, then to Auburn. Can you hear me okay? I see somebody holding an ear. I just want to make sure I can be heard. First to Syracuse, then to Auburn, then to Ithaca. No, that's okay. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's fine. No, because then I'll. In 1931, here in Ithaca, Wing Kui Tang opened a restaurant right here on State Street, not far from where we're sitting. It was called Asiatic Garden. 1939, Jo King Young, his wife, another immigrant from southern China, came here to the United States and jumped right into working with him at that restaurant. Together, the two of them built Asiatic Garden into a beloved institution here in Ithaca. Over the years, their son, Do King Wing Tang, and their daughter-in-law, Jean York Chun Tang, helped them maintain that standard of excellence. Altogether, Asiatic Garden was here, thriving, prospering, serving the community for 70 years. Think about that. That's 3 generations of people that they served. I think that's extraordinary. In 1974, Wing Kui Tang died. In 1981, Asiatic Garden celebrated its 50th anniversary. The mayor of Ithaca at the time recognized this restaurant as an institution of importance so pronounced in the community it was on a par with Cornell, Ithaca College, Cayuga Lake, and Ithaca Falls. Absolutely. That same year, Jo King Young died. Jean and King stayed at the restaurant for another 20 years, working hard, serving the community. And it wasn't until 2001 that Jean and King sold Asiatic Garden and retired from the restaurant business. And I say that very deliberately because they retired from the restaurant business, but they didn't retire. They went on to a second career up at Cornell, where they worked for several years, helping to feed students up on campus. Then they finally retired from that. And in my opinion, I think it's fair to say that right now Jean and King are embarked on a third career, working with us, helping us to preserve their legacy in creating the Tang Family Collection. So before I start our show and tell, before I pass things off to Jean and King, I want to share with you one of the latest additions to the Tang Family Collection. I got an email on Wednesday from a man who had been here. He grew up here. He was an Ithacan. He was at West California. He heard about this program and reached out to us and asked if we would please pass a letter on to Jean and King, telling them about all of his fond memories at Asiatic Garden. So I gave Jean the letter this morning. I put a copy of the letter in the collection, but I'd like to share it with you before we go on, because this to me is emblematic of the kind of emotional legacy that the Tang family has created. So this is very special. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Tang. I know it's been 30 years, which seems impossible, but I still don't think I can call you Jean and King like my parents always did. It sounds like you and your family are doing very well, and I'm so pleased to hear that the Tang family legacy is being celebrated in Ithaca this weekend. When my wife forwarded the announcement of this Saturday's celebration at the History Center, it brought back so many memories. But the most recent recollection that all of us here have is the almond cookies. I've been searching for a recipe for your amazingly tender and crumbly almond cookies for years. I've made so many batches, everyone in my family knows that regardless of how they come out, they're my attempt at making Asiatic Garden cookies. I also remember New Year's Day and many other holidays at Asiatic Garden with you, and that you all had heard of my mom's Uncle John, who was an early and ardent supporter when he was at Cornell back in the 1940s. Remember what I said about 3 generations? The night your son helped me when I broke my finger tripping over the chain between your back parking lot and the church. Most importantly, the amazing takeout all through high school and college. But my most poignant memory was of the winter of 1995. I was a typical careless college senior. I'd invited my girlfriend over for dinner, and instead of being responsible and cooking for us myself, I wanted to pick up Asiatic Garden. I called ahead and asked for several of our favorites. Mrs. Tang gave me the total over the phone. Excuse me. When I got to my girlfriend's apartment to pick her up, we realized that we had only $10 between us. So I called you to reduce our order because I was out of cash. When I arrived, you took my $10. But then imagine my surprise when you handed me 2 huge shopping bags of food. I was stunned. I know I said thank you, but it took the next hour for me to realize how thankful I really was. You didn't treat me as a financially careless college kid trying to wheedle his way into free food. You took care of us, even though we didn't really need taking care of. And I've never forgotten that. I hope the celebration of your impact on Ithaca is wonderful this weekend. My family and I will be there in spirit and will always think of you all fondly. Sincerely, Eric Hankey, Ithaca High School class of 1990, Ithaca College class of 1995. Now we know that Asiatic Garden was beloved because of the great food, but we really know that it was beloved because of the people. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to now turn your attention to Jean and King and Amy, and I will start show and tell from the back of the room.
So thank you all for being here today. It's such a great honor to be here with Jean and King. Thank you. And also joining with you all, taking the time out on a Saturday to help us celebrate and honor the legacy of Asiatic Garden, and also with Jean and King, the Tang family. Jean was always saying to me, why would you want our history? Why would you want our story? Why it's so important? Because in the story, it's like if you look at some of the archives and if you listen to stories, typically you don't hear from the marginalized community or historically marginalized. And particularly Asians and Asian Americans historically has been intentionally wanted to be invisible because of the immigration policies and because of the policy, and also just in some discriminations and the retributions that happens. A lot of times that invisibility from the outside, which also internalized inside. So for that, it is really my desire to be able to make our stories, make our community to be known, to be heard, and to be amplified. So I just want to thank Jean and King for your courage and bravery, and your so willingness to be able to share your story and to help us understand more about the Asians and Asian Americans living in Tompkins County. So thank you all again for being here. And now, is that enough to get you started, Jean or King?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to thank you, everyone. Okay, I'm not going to stand up, I've got to sit down. Okay. It's too emotional, so. Anyway, first, we'd like to thank you very much for everybody here. We were just so surprised, I say, in the winter time, and, okay, and it's so cold out there, and you all come. And, we left the restaurant, 20-some years ago. We sold the building, and we think, we cannot sell our name. 70 years, a lot of history and work. So they do want our name, and then some of them even say, what's the difference? We're gonna use your name anyway. I say, go ahead and try. My customer will let you know. Not just law, you know. But anyway, so, and then we sold the location. We gave them everything they had in there, the equipment and everything, but we just like to, we are getting old. So then, also that as soon our son graduate from the college, and then the bank come, before he even graduate, they asked us, do we willing to let him work for them, the trust company, which is, we start the first day when we were in business, we went to the trust company and they trust us. So that's how the Asiatic Garden started at the beginning. So we've been their customer for 70 years. You should see our checkbook, how long the number. But then I don't know how in order, because this is new for me to speak up like that to everybody. One time when Cornell people put us up the stage, I say, I'd rather cook for all use than that speaking now. But that's not what they want. They want me to say something, so I say something, just like this now. When Amy came and asked me about this restaurant, and then I say, no time, long story, no time. I'm thankful that she didn't give up. And then I'm very thankful. And then we think it over. I say, the reason we're doing all this, we like the history to stay, and somebody hear about that, because we want to give our King's parents the validation for hard work and courage and determination. And also we like the people to know in Ithaca, it's not just the waterfall that make it gorgeous. The people here make Ithaca gorgeous. To be truthful, honestly, if without the people in Ithaca to accept us and support us, and we won't be still here. Because all our families, all our West mostly, or New York, a big city, not in Ithaca. But I tell everybody, we love Ithaca, we're gonna live here and die here. So, but anyway, we are thankful everybody give us a chance to make our living and support us. And so that's why we are still here. And thank you for the History Center. Thank you, Amy. You are the one to get it started. So, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm not a good speaker. First of all, I never went to school here. And I learned all the English because customer taught me that. You are part of it. Many of you are part of it. And then, and then many of our customers are really, really good to us. And we just like family. As Amy said, that we serve 3 or 4 generations. We have a lot of history. Then I couldn't even tell so much about how good they are, and you all are. So I think I'm gonna let my husband talk now. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, I don't want to keep repeating it, but we're very blessed to be here in Ithaca. All you people are the ones that made us and accepted us throughout the years. And thank you especially for the History Center. We never, been here all our life, I have, and never realized how important the history, and not just us, but every one of you that either knew here or been here, because no matter wherever we go here in this area, you can't help bumping into somebody that knows you or did something with you or for you. So I'm glad that we can use this History Center and emphasize the importance of it is mainly not just now, but for the future, because whether you're looking not just us, but anything about Tompkins County or Ithaca, They have all the things, they do all their research, they document all that. So when you want to learn something about this area, this is the place to be. Or if you want to start something like that, come up and talk to them, because once you're in there, the future generations will want to know what happened previous. Just like 1931, we weren't here, but our parents got started. But the opportunities that Ithaca has given our family, it's been a blessing. So I'm not good at giving speeches either, but everyone that I see here has affected us, not just as a customer, but as a family friend that, you know, helped us get through the ages. So again, thank you for being here, everybody. If you have any questions, whatever,
One more thing I like to say before you.
go for it.
And I like to say also, if anybody retire, feel I still want to work, go to Cornell.
Thank you, Jean and King.
You're welcome.
And we can open up for questions, as maybe you have questions from the artifacts that you've been looking at, or just questions, or if you'd like to share some memories that you have with Asiatic Gardens, and we're just gonna open it up to you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kurt Down. I came here in the late '60s as a student at Cornell. And I should say, as a semi-starving student at Cornell, I was introduced to the Asiatic Garden and the Tang Family by people who said, we love going there because we are treated like family. And pretty soon, after a few visits, I was treated like family also. And that means as a obviously semi-destitute student, I would be given a big can of leftovers from the kitchen every time I went down, which probably kept me alive during those years. So, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
I can't speak for everyone in the room, but if they would like to come out of retirement and write a cookbook, I think we'd all be very interested.
Yes.
Can you, I'm curious about looking at the history, what were some of the hardest years in running a restaurant?
At the beginning, I'm sure, but to be truthful, that I was not here. So what I heard about then in the beginning is very hard, and then everybody, I can't speak for everybody, and everybody we know were poor, especially us. We start from nothing, and then my father-in-law, mother-in-law, I came in 1965, so I really did not know very much. But knowing the style they live and knowing the thing they have at home, it's just like everything is very old, very poor condition. So they never had very much, but they give a lot. Whatever they have, they give. Whoever needs it, they give. So then I can imagine it's very hard. And then they never spoke the language. Wayne and Sue never spoke the language, never learned the language, pretty much like me. And I was very lucky, and when I came, I only a little part of the restaurant, and they were the major part of the restaurant, and they didn't know any language, and many people helped them. I know one thing about for Susie, my mother-in-law, to help them the most is Jean and I think he was an insurance salesman. He helped them get the house, he helped the kid for school, and then everything, give a lot of advice. So maybe King can answer that more question. Okay, so thank you for asking. I imagined that I wasn't sure because I was not here. Thank you.
Yeah, so actually maybe that's a good, maybe you can share a little bit, what was that like, your first impression coming to, because you came in 1965?
1965 in April.
She remembers the month.
Yeah, because it's snow. Remember the snow, so, and it was beautiful, but and I imagine driving the car wasn't that easy because my husband had to come down New York City to pick me up. And that was a long trip, 5 hours in the whole day, 5.5 hours before from New York to Ithaca. And my husband wanted to send me by bus from New York. I heard about from New York Kennedy Airport, you gotta take a bus or a subway or whatever to the Manhattan to take the bus. And the bus will stop 2 or 3 different places and change bus before get to Ithaca in the whole day. So I told my husband, I say, I think it's easy for me to take the plane back to Hong Kong. So we came. When the trip came back to Ithaca and during the time, then I realized what he meant not to come get me because it was a hard trip. Because he worked in the restaurant all day and drive 5-6 hours, come to pick me up and drive another 5-6 hours and come back to Ithaca and work again. So the first day when I came, I remember the restaurant was closing time. When we come back to Ithaca, it was somewhere around 8:30, 9 o'clock, which is the restaurant closed at that time. And the city was very dark. I came from Hong Kong. 9 o'clock is just start the day. The whole Hong Kong is lit in New York City. But anyway, this is Ithaca. And then when we came down the South Hill, I believe, we came past Ithaca Hotel. It's also pitch black. I say, this is Ithaca Hotel? You know, Hong Kong have a lot of big hotel 5-star, right? So I say, totally different environment. But as I stayed, but actually the same night when I came, the restaurant closed. And then I went home, went to the house and dropped all my suitcase, changed my clothes. I washed dishes right away. Because dishes pile up in the kitchen. We never had a dishwashing machine. We wash by hand and rinse by hand and just drip dry. And then wipe, and then you do all the silverware and stuff like that. You know how much work there was to close up the restaurant at nighttime. I worked the same hour when I came from Hong Kong. I worked there for 37 years straight. So that was a good life. Very hard, very busy life, but it was a very good life. And then a long story about going down the dining room and serve customer that without yes or no or anything else. And but people teach me how to do my job. I have no worry. Thank you.
And King, you actually was born here and started right away since 0 years old, right?
Right. Actually, I was born in Syracuse because my mother was visiting there. So I should have been born. I should have been born here in Ithaca. In fact, my sister was born here at the city hospital, which was up on South Hill. But no, I'm still consider myself Ithacan because I should have been born here. But anyway, long story short, it's quite an experience. I didn't know nothing back then, but when I was in younger days, I could take the Greyhound bus up to Syracuse for $3 on a round trip. That was before 81 or any of those places were built, and it was a nice, safe city. I could go up and down South Salina Street and do all these things and then pick up the bus and come back. But it was always good to go back and forth to visit. But 14850 is still the best town, in my opinion. So, and again, thank you for this History Center. And that's the main thing I want to emphasize. Anything you want to learn about, not just us, but anything in this area, this is the place to be because they document all these things, they research it, so there's no fooling about whatever you want to learn, you'll find it out here. And the people are just wonderful, and I admire the way they're doing their job. I can't last that long doing research. I was never good academically. So anyway, thank you for being here.
So actually, since you brought up the History Center and the research, and knowing that through the process of you donating the artifacts and the collections, and knowing that there's still more in your garage. So Donna referred to as the attic. I would like to say the garage. And actually, there's a garage full of a lot of things. So you have seen here, like the old menu of Asiatic Garden. I mean, pay attention to the price, right? And then also some of the photographs that you see, and then some of the artifacts that actually gives us a glimpse of the history of what it was like. Especially during the King's dad, when he came, it was actually during the Chinese Exclusion Act that was in effect. And so knowing that history, how was people like during that time when Chinese were not allowed to be immigrated? And then how then was he able to stay in the United States and be able to open up a restaurant? When he first started, it was actually opened up in Syracuse. And then, and actually before Asiatic Garden here in Ithaca, he actually opened one in Auburn, New York. And then from Auburn, then came to Ithaca. And so just wondering why also Chinese restaurants in upstate New York. It's not because of Cornell, but those are questions that lead us to wanting to do more. And so because of my curiosity, I kept asking questions. And then and asking them how do they come about. So if I may ask you,
There's a young man beneath his hand.
yes, I will get to that.
Okay,
I have
all
seen
right.
you.
Then-
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I want to Jean and King, if you can share a little bit, because of the questions that we've been asking, and then the artifacts that you've been donating, and the collections that have been developing. So we just want to know if other folks, if you can share a little bit about you hinted already, you talked about it, your experience in doing this work. This is your third career as a community archivist. I don't know if we can say that. Donna, am I allowed to do that? But as a sort of developing you as a historian and doing it for yourself, for the Tang family, but I remember you saying that you're not just doing it for yourself.
No, not for myself at all. I am nobody, only part of the family, part of the community, not very long history, only since 1965. We are doing it for King's parents because the hard work for their life and also the determination and also for the people in Ithaca, the acceptance for the foreign people to come to this country and knowing that we don't know much or anything, no education, all we have just is strength and work. So, and then they got offered the chance to stay, and they stay no matter what. So then they just take a while to get used to how customer want from us, and they know we'll give whatever we can do anyway, just to do our job. Is that good? I don't know. I'm not sure to answer the question.
Well, mainly, Jean's doing most of the talking about this family stuff, because I never learned to speak Chinese. My parents were always working and everything. But since Jean came over, like downtime, dinner time, she spoke Chinese with my father, and that's how we picked up on all this history. I was more or less born and bred here, and I went through the whole system. In the bigger cities, families would go out, say, to church on Sunday, and the kids would go to their meetings, learn their Chinese, their culture and stuff. Well, we weren't associated with Cornell and those, places where you could go and learn. But Jean learned a lot about that, and this is part of how we ended up here today, is through the history that she learned about the family in Ithaca and how they survived and all that. But mainly it's all you people from this area that helped them get through and welcomed them here, because in the big city, it's even if you're in the wrong neighborhood, you're not welcome either way. So this is part of the program we're here today to emphasize. Anything you want, if you really struggle and interested enough, keep asking, you'll find the answer somewhere, especially something like the History Center. Okay, I'll let you go from there.
And you had a question? Yes.
Yeah, how did you guys meet? Jean and King?
Yeah. That one I'll let her tell.
We never met. It's arrangement marriage. So I sent him home too. I said, go home, get another help here. Unless you get married someone else. Oh, but anyway.
So both your families put you in touch across the ocean?
By Chinese, if you're in the same village, you call yourself a village cousin no matter what. Okay, you have the same last name, you're related. Especially you came from the same village. So a lot of his family, although they've been here for a long time, but they have a lot of family back home. And knowing our family, and they kind of like so-and-so looking for a daughter-in-law to go help. And then so-and-so have a daughter, good worker. So that's how it happened. So, and then best thing of all, we never speak the same language, okay? We can fight. So when you say any bad word, it's okay, you can get away with it. Because he will ask you, what did you call me last night? I say, you're a sweetie. That wasn't it.
Well, we want to hear from King too, right?
But look at the evidence. Surprisingly, we're still together after over 60 years of marriage. So that worked out good for our thing and for everybody around us. So that's all I can think about other than that.
He's okay, guys.
I wanted to ask, Jean, I think you had mentioned that when Amy asked you about your history, you said, well, why do you want to know? Why is that important? Or something along those lines. And I was wondering what was it, or how did you start to think differently and answer that question, to be here and to, give the History Center your wonderful family history and be a part of this?
Mainly because, how do I say this? I want my father-in-law, mother-in-law get validation of what they have done for all of us and for the restaurant, for the family, and for the community. I think they had offered a lot in any small way, but it means a lot to whoever knew them, whoever they knew, and it seemed like that everybody really appreciated, and I appreciated. They taught me a lot. I was a different person when I came. Of course, I raised differently, and then we just had the open mind and learn. Whatever you are, you do the best you could, and which means they did. So then when Amy had so much patience with me, and if she keep after me, I finally give in. I say, oh, okay. But when she start talking about the restaurant, that's how I get started. And then the restaurant is the one I like to talk about the most. Not my life. My life is not much. So, and most of my life I here because I learned from here. When I came, I was only 19. So then, that's it. I just mostly we get the restaurant get started, and I like to talk about my father-in-law, and my mother-in-law. The reason I say a lot about my father-in-law because when my father-in-law after work in the middle of the day at 3:00 he had lunch every day at 3:00, and that's the time I sit down and feed my baby, feed him. So we sit together. And Susie, forget it, she never sit down, okay? Susie's always like me, busy. Everything you talk about, no time. But anyway, so we just work and live and try the best we could to live together and do everything we could. But after you work for 12, 14 hours hard work, what time do you have other than go to bed? So, but anyway, so I just really appreciate this family accept me. And I learned so much from this Ithaca here. And Ithaca's one and the Tang family that raised me. And I think, is that answer the question? I'm not sure.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
And thank you, Jean.
Oh, not at all. I'm not sure that answered the question, but I just,
I think you did.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
you did.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to. Yes, I will. I just want to bring attention since you talked about Susie and you talked
on
about
the clothing.
and the clothing that's around here. And then come and take a look. They're just amazing, beautiful. That
They all handmade.
they were all handmade, and that came with Susie when she first came. And that was part of her dowry. And it was in a trunk, like a traditional trunk that was put on the ship and then came over here.
And never open.
And it was never opened when she first arrived. So it's been preserved very well because it's been in the trunk. And
Wasn't a branch.
it was in a garage. You can see how pressure that garage is. Like some of us just want to get in there. So just take a look. I just want to bring that to your attention why these are here. And then, so we've been, if someone knows more about textiles and stitches and all that would be fabulous because these artifacts give us more of an insight into the family, the background of Susie, and it just based on a little bit of what we learned, and actually the class, the social class that she actually belongs to be able to have these amazing fabrics and amazing handmade dress that were brought here with her. And so there are more than these 5 dresses actually, and along with slippers as well. And so we hope that one of these days we'll be able to bring them out for another show. But so let me go back to you.
That's my question.
Oh, how do we know? That's great. Okay. Yes.
Oh, I have like a lot of questions, but sorry to make you talk about yourselves some more.
Oh, not at all.
But for you, I guess, you know, from Hong Kong to here is very different climate-wise. When my family immigrated to the U.S., like they're also from like, you know, near like southern China, and then they moved to Hawaii, which is similar, very similar.
That's nice.
Whereas this is very different.
This is very nice.
So when you moved here, I mean, you know, other than just sort of the work and that, like, how did you sort of deal with like sort of homesickness, or were you ever able to like go back to Hong Kong to visit your family over there, or yeah, I don't know. I think like there's a lot of like people who come here and they miss their home because it's very different.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess like what would your advice be to those people? And
About missing,
yeah, like
home,
missing
back home.
Yeah.
Well, my situation a lot different because I came here to work. And we didn't have time to think about anything else but go to sleep. You never get any sleep until, I don't know, many years later. And then when I was in the hospital, had my son, every minute I stay in bed. So the lady in the same room said, I never see a lady sleep so much. I say, if I get out of here, I'll never get to sleep again. With the baby on top of all the work we had. And then you have a family restaurant, and then everything you have to do on your own. It's very hard to hire any Asian people to start with in Ithaca. And most Asian people in Ithaca were connected with Cornell. In school, they're busy, you know. And so then that's when I came. Good thing I was busy because I was very lonely. He never spoke Chinese. I can't even fight with him. And I never knew him anyway. I married him. I'm more married to the family. A lot of old-fashioned Chinese were married to the family, not to that person. And then because of busy, the life schedule, and you change everything, the whole life changed. So you just had to have an open mind. When I came, actually, I told myself, either way, you do the best you can. If the best you're not good enough for them, it's going to be up to them. I guess that's the only way that I say. And then, and happen to be, I'm old fashioned. If I marry that person, I gotta be in life. No one way or the other. I mean, I like the new style thing, you don't like it, change, right? But for some reason, I raised in old style. And in Hong Kong, they teach a lot of school mostly in English. You had to learn English because you're gonna get no job, right? But for some reason, I'm a thickhead. I study Chinese, even though with English, I'm not good at all with English. So I learned the old-fashioned Chinese way. I had 2 years of really good Chinese brought up school. When the second or third grade, you learn all the whole Chinese thing. And before you even before you start class, you had to pray to Confucius, the Chinese scholar.
Yeah, the Chinese
That you had to play, Confucius. You had to play to him, give him the respect before your class start, which means I went to the school with that kind of fashion in Hong Kong, which you no more anyway. It was very rare when I was there at that time. There's not much of that kind of school. So I learned all Chinese way. And then we didn't have that kind of freedom, say, even think about it, to change husband. You marry to your husband, you marry husband family. You do whatever you can, your life is gonna be theirs. So that's how I learned, that's how it got stuck. As I say, I'm very stubborn person. I don't learn. I learn one way and that's it. Yeah, my boss, no. My boss is sitting down there from Cornell. That's the first job I got in Ithaca, other than my restaurant job. And then I worked there for 19 years. The good thing I had a good boss. Thank you. Is that good? Okay.
Have you ever been back to Hong Kong since you came here?
Yes, I did for 1 weekend only.
Oh, wow.
I spent more time on the plane than in Hong Kong. But good thing, at least I had a chance to go.
Yeah.
My husband's daughter, Lynn Toy, that grew up from here, she went to Cornell, she graduated. Yeah. His sister, Lynn Toy, went to graduate from Ithaca High School and went to Cornell Hotel School. And she married a Cornellian. And then she had 2 daughters, they both graduate from Cornell Hotel. The reason I say that, so both graduate from hotel school. One of the daughter worked for, what's the airline?
Oh, American Airlines.
American Airlines. So she got a good ticket, right? So she said, "Aunt Jean, you wanna go Hong Kong, you know?" So she said, I got a deal, you know, we can go to Hong Kong for only 1 weekend though. You know? I said, yeah, why not? Never been back yet. So that's the reason we went to Hong Kong for 1 weekend. And he didn't go, he don't want to go anyway. He never liked Hong Kong because it's too hot. Hong Kong was too hot for him. So and then anyway, he liked Ithaca better. I like Ithaca better. The beer is better. And then when he ordered iced tea, they don't know what he talked about in the old days. Now they what do you mean iced tea? But he wanted iced tea. So they don't know what he talked about, so we had to teach him how to make iced tea. I don't mean to drink iced tea, just tea and ice. Yeah, Hong Kong do not serve ice with the drink in the old day. Maybe now they do, I'm sure. So, but anyway, so then what else I talk about? I forgot, I get lost. Anyway, I love Ithaca. We are very, very fortunate to be here. Thank you.
We can just take a couple more questions before we wrap up.
Just a comment, if I may. Speaking of beer, I learned about 40 years ago to come down, park at the back, come in the back door. King was in the back cooking, order my takeout food, and mysteriously there was always a cold beer in the cooler available for me. Always. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So obviously Ithaca has changed a lot, either since 1931 or since 1965. I only came here in 2022, so I would love to hear about some of the big changes that either meant a lot to Asiatic Garden or to your lives here in Ithaca.
Great. King, why don't you start? Because I know you.
Lots of
Ithaca's always been Ithaca to me, and because of the long time being here, everybody in Ithaca connected with each other. Even if we had an argument with somebody, might have maybe a little fist fight or something, but you shake hands and go to the youth center in Ithaca used to be on top of Central Fire Station. Plus each section, we had the north side house, west, south side house, all those places. And everybody got along with everybody. You didn't have the stuff that you have today. So as long as you blended in with each other, even though you didn't like each other, when people needed each other, they were there for each other. So and that's the way Ithaca's always been. You go to any bigger city, they're all split into different sections. You don't even dare to go to those areas sometimes. But here we've always blended in with each other. And also we only have one high school at Ithaca all these years. Most other towns have 2 or 3 high schools. So you have a lot of extremes. You have a lot of kids that professor, their families were from Cornell. Then you had a lot of working people like us but we all got along, stuff like that. So Ithaca's unique in that way. If you go to any other area, you can feel different anyway. Every time you go to California, a lot of relatives out there. It's a totally different lifestyle. And like if we wanted to go, say, to San Francisco, if we didn't leave San Francisco by 2 in the afternoon, it'd take you 2 or 3 hours to drive 20 miles. It's ridiculous, but that's their lifestyle, and they get by. But one thing we know in Ithaca, with all the construction or one-ways, as long as we're from here, we know how to deviate from around. So, but that's the beauty of this for us in Ithaca. Everybody helps each other, they know each other. And if they don't, they just avoid each other. But it's just, that's what it is. Just like Pete here, when I'm younger generations, they eat Pete's Bar on the corner with Jean and Claire. Those were a couple of my offices when I was young. Everybody, that's the main thing. Everybody blends in. And then the students at Cornell before, they would come downtown, usually on Sundays, because they didn't have dining as good as they do nowadays. But and we had Hale's Delicatessen next to us. And Sundays we were usually it's a slow day, but Hale's would be busy, we'd get some overflow and vice versa. But again, everybody just got along and cooperated with each other. And Ithaca's, to me, it's still that same way, but you have, different leaders. Every year you got, every 4 years, look at the president thing. But we all survived that, so see what happens these next 4 years. And as long as we can get along, it'll turn out okay. Even as bad as it feels sometimes, we still survive. So that's the beauty of Ithaca to me. So anything else?
About changes that you have seen since you came and today?
A lot more people, and the town seemed like bigger in this year. And I just thankful that I came the right time. And the common makes a lot of difference, and also the pandemic makes totally different. So then there's a lot of changes, but we supposed to be changed anyway. Look at me. I mean, I got fat and older and all the way out of hair. So, we change ourselves. We just don't want to accept it. That's all. But things change, but hopefully change for better. As my husband say, you don't like it, wait, it'll change. That's all. We got open mind.
Right, it's history repeats itself, but there's no time zone when it actually happens. And when it does change, it doesn't mean exactly the same as before, but it still changes, so we just have to accept that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
I had a question about Wing Kwai Tang and Joe King Young's identity certificates that were being passed around. I saw that under occupation, they were both listed as students, and that Joe King Young was actually also listed as a citizen. And knowing during Chinese exclusion, a lot of Chinese immigrants would change their occupation or claim parentage in the US to improve their chances of immigrating. I was wondering if that was the case for Wing Kwai and Joe King.
Jean King Tang, actually, her father was citizen in US. If I don't remember the year, but he was citizen. You see the old picture there? Two of her family, the Zhou family, were citizen. So at some point, they went home. Then when her father, even her grandfather was in this US, not much history, only by the paper. I found that not too long ago in March, whatever. And the picture, then I bought a head we both and Amy, we studied together. We still in the processing the study because all the year we don't even know how to change the year, but they had Chinese year in it instead of 19 so and so, but they can go back in Chinese word on it. So and we didn't really study that much on that year why. But Susie, I call Susie because everybody know her by Susie. Zhou King Yong, the Zhou family had two citizens from far back from this country. When one of them, which means her father, went home to maybe married to the mother, and then so that she born in China, she was a midwife in fact. And she studied in the city, and she became a midwife in China. And then the change revolution in China. So and then finally the father said that better have her come before the war and all the changes. So that's how she came. But at that time, what we call that, the Chinese people cannot come unless you had this Exclusion Act, right, at that time. She came in 1939, so then so she had to apply as a student to come. So then it's easier than she said that, she was born in China, but the father was citizen. So there's a lot of things that were not allowed to come that way. So it's easier for her to apply for as a student to come. And then when she came, and they had arranged marriage again, because King's father was here already, and also he served the Navy too. So then they find a husband for her as soon as she came. So she's pretty much like me, to marry to someone who was here, to become resident of United States. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. We still study about that one.
Yeah, it's a great question. And then when it first came, we're still wondering and trying to do the trades, but there's just a lot of lack of information. But this is where we hope that we can continue to collect data and doing some tracing, hopefully with some help of historians to support us this effort. One is that we thought that definitely when Wing Kwai was first recruited to be a chef on the naval ship, which allowed to be, and under that you have a different status because you're under the military. And then what you said was that the commander or the captain was very in support of him and his friends or cousin. There was a cohort of them that came and they wanted to stay. And so our guess is that in order for them to stay, since they were already on West Coast, it was in Washington State, and then you see the ID card that is San Francisco. It's probably that's our assumption. The guess is that in order for them to stay, change the status to be a student in order for them to continue to stay. And those are the exceptions of the Chinese Exclusion Act, that you can either be a business person or a student. And I think there's one more, Derek. merchants. Yeah, so there were some exemptions for them too, so that's how they were able to be ideal. That's our assumption. And then once they were recruited to be a cook, chef at a restaurant in New York City, and then from New York City, then went to Syracuse, and then Syracuse, then Auburn, and then here, and then become a business owner, a merchant, and then that the status then shifted again. And so that's kind of our assumption in terms of tracing it, but I think we have a lot of work to do, and this is like some of the work, and also for Susie to be able to trace her family back to China. And I don't know if it's available, but some of her relatives' photos and her brothers and cousins and are also in the collection and has name and birth years, so that we're hoping to be able to trace that. Addition that I saw, there was also a copy of some of the what do you say? It was like almost like a booklet, which is actually, it was really interesting because it gives us a little hint to what Susie's family is like back home. Because these were, it looks like she was preparing for immigration questions. And so there was a listing of questions like, how many people live in your house? What was the square footage of the house? I mean, they get really detailed. And also, which actually, now in hindsight, fantastic. These are historical records, right? But imagine at the time you had to answer like all these questions. I mean, would you know the square footage of your house when you go out for immigration questions? And also, when do this person stay at this house and connection to this? It was tons of questions that were all documented in that booklet. And they were written in Chinese, so we're waiting for that to be translated as well. So these are some of the insights and some of the, if you will, the starting point of the collections. And thanks to Jean and King again for sharing with us and this history. To always look up to you because you really help us ground us living here, not because just being you as here as a family, which is what you have said so much, and that to be able to share with a broader family. So thank you again for being here with us today, helping us to solve. Laura, you have a question?
I want to thank you so much for how your family has contributed to Ithaca, the community, and the business community, and the long history of your being here. And it's a beautiful story, so thank you for that.
Thank you. I never knew that so many people could interesting on that.
Oh my
For us, it's just living.
Great. Amy, thank you for keeping at it. Making sure that this story gets told. And I think I have your plates. I have the beautiful blue and white plates. Did you have blue and white plates? With the piece, the big part for the entree and then the part for the
the combination plate.
The combination
plate special.
I got them for the restaurant.
The plate special, yes. That was a good one.
I'm not kidding.
In the old days, it's called blue plate special.
Yes.
And do you remember the menu of the blue plate special?
I don't, well.
Tuesday.
Pork fried rice.
Beef stew. That's the main thing. That blue plate special is an American dish because we serve American Chinese food. Tuesday is beef stew. Wednesday is meatloaf. Thursday is corned beef cabbage. Okay? All home cooked, everything, even the side dish, everything home cooked, okay? Friday is fried scallop and fried haddock. Saturday, oh, I know. It's
Short rib?
beef short rib. Short rib or beef, they call it. Okay, everything a side dish also makes special. Every blue plate special comes with different side dish. And cause we always serve the French bread from Ithaca Bakery. And hand cut butter.
Fresh bread.
And French bread, yes. We order French bread from the Ithaca Bakery all the time. And then Sunday is roast chicken. So that's a blue plate special.
How you did all that on those plates?
Oh, yeah, that was good. Thank you. You bring back a lot of memory that I would forget it, but there again, it's just set in my mind because I've been serving that for so long. And I watched his father make them, so everything handmade, everything coconut kitchen. And then hand cut French fry. We peel potato, we didn't notice after many years, people don't peel anymore, wash it and cut. Right, cook it with the skin, they say more healthy, whatever. Anyway, he had the peeled potato, oh my God. we make mashed potato, we make French fry, and also rice and gravy if you like, prefer to have rice. So that comes in that group. Yeah, pork fried rice is the most popular thing because we roast our pork ourselves, and I cut the pork. I cut every day. So yeah, barbecue pork. Oh yeah, the same pork. Yeah, that pork is most popular. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Laura, for that,
Thank
for sharing,
you.
and
Thank
then
you.
bring back all these.
The fine memory. Yeah. If I have the strength, I will start all over again, but I don't have it with me anymore.
Well, we want to thank you all for being here again to help celebrate and then help us to be able to share the history, a piece of Tompkins County history, or Ithaca history with you all. And we all know that you also had an impact on the history as well. So one is that we would like to invite you, given that, like Laura and others have done, is sharing your memories with Asiatic Garden. And so if you would be willing to share that with us and allowing us to record so that it can go into the collection and help us continue to build this collection with us. So if you're willing to do that, we'll be really grateful. And then we will continue to work in documenting and collecting and in going through her garage and continue to work on expanding the collection even more. The reason we also do this, which Jean and King did not mention, one is to honor the Sue and Susie and Wing Tang, the family, but also most importantly is that the next generation and what they want to leave behind is that the history has been obliterated and that it has continuing on, that we all continue on to contribute to the history-making process. And then so the 7th generation down the road will be able to see and learn from all of us together. So thank you again for being here with us. And then please join us, not roast pork fried rice or the blue plate special, now that we had to think about maybe that's a future program in the History Center. But enjoy some sandwiches that's provided by Shortstop Deli, whose owner, Chuck Dawn, is the cousin of Jean and King Tang. So,
and I'd also like to mention too, Chuck Dawn's father came from China and worked with the Asiatic Garden for many, many years. Yes, until he passed away.
Yes, there's so many more stories and so many stories that we can tell, but also so many stories that we can uncover. So let's keep the stories going, and please continue to share with one another, and join us at the research room for some sandwiches, and the water fountain is over here.
There's fluid, there's water.
Yes, so the fluid beverage for the hydration.
To the research library, please join us for some snacks.
But your memory of Asiatic Garden is very, very important. Please share it with us and put it in the History Center. Thank you.
The Tang family would like to pay tribute to the Ithaca community and the surrounding area, and to offer heartfelt thanks and appreciation for their support and encouragement over the years. For King, who grew up in Ithaca, and for Jean, who came to Ithaca as an adult, Ithaca has always been a beautiful, quiet, and peaceful place. They have always thought of Ithaca as rich in beauty, rich in culture, and rich in its generous people. They would also like to give their special thanks to the folks who gave their hearts and love and kindness to their parents in their early years during their difficult times. This includes the Tompkins Trust Company, now Tompkins Community Bank, the John Guerin Insurance Company, James O'Connor, attorney at law, and Professor Ta Lang and family. The Tangs want to thank them for their guidance and trust over all these years. Most of all, the Tangs wish to give thanks to God in heaven for his great love and blessings for giving them the greatest gift of all, their 5 grandchildren. And last but not least, they would like to thank the History Center for their great service to the community and the generations to come.